Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the Fire Emblem 3 Houses Blue Lions Maddening Mode, a low turn count playthrough. I'm Mekkah, I'm not playing, I'm just commentating. Today we are doing the Caspar Mercedes paralogue, and this is such a planning heavy chapter, such a difficult chapter to figure out how to LTC, that I thought it deserved its own video. And for the same reason, we're doing another one of these monastery segments where I catch you up on the things that we have done to have our units able to route this chapter in the little time that we do it in. So let's go over the units that are the most important to this clear. This chapter has some of the hardest thresholds to reach, and few units exemplify this more than Byleth. She wants 42 strength, they gotta take Pegasus core, and a net rally to reach 70 attack. We could have used the Keyhole Wyverns instead, but Dimitri wants that one. She needs to be able to one-shot Dark Mages, a certain Sniper, and then she also has to be able to one-round KO a Demonic Beast with the Brave Axe Plus on the player face through its armor. Durability is also a concern, and to this end we've given Byleth the Aegis Shield, Battalion Desperation for player phase, and Battalion Advantage for enemy phase, to make sure that she and the Galatea Pegasus core don't take more damage than they need to. If you thought Byleth had ridiculous strength, look at Dimitri. He has 57 strength, and that means that with the Freikugel and the Keyhole Wyvern core, he's able to reach 115 physical attack power, and this will let him one-round a phase of an Axe-weak Demonic Beast through its armor on enemy phase. We would normally go with critical hits, but the Demonic Beasts in this chapter have a skill that prevents them from getting crit while their armor is up, so a lot of the time we have to do with other measures. The strength that Dimitri has is 9 points higher than it was on last map, and that's because we finally dumped a bunch of Rocky Burdocks on him. So because the Keyhole Wyvern company is so precious, we've also given Dimitri defensive tactics. It's by far our best flying battalion with plus 7 attack, plus 15 hit, and plus 15 crit, so we want to keep it intact as much as we can. Felix only has 39 strength, but he also has plus 3 attack from the Ingrid support. He has an A support with her now, so that he can reach 2 KO thresholds against certain enemies in his chapter. And then defensively, we've given him Alert Stance, the Speed Ring, Weight -3, and he's going to dismount in a force to help his avoid. It's not completely foolproof, so we've also given him defensive tactics. Seteth's kit isn't too far out of the usual. He just has the Killer Lance plus a Battalion Wrath to crit kill enemies. He has Swordbreaker because most of the enemies he faces in this chapter use swords, and he has the Evasion Ring. Funnily enough, we forgot to reclass Seteth back to Wyvern Lord after last map. We had him in Wyvern Rider to get his battalion chipped more reliably, but now we would have really liked to have the extra Avoid, both Avoid plus 10 from the class ability and better base speed, and we would have enjoyed the extra movement as well, as it would have increased a couple of options, but we forgot, so Wyvern Rider Seteth it is. Then there's Sylvain. He needs to reach 40 strength, and he needs to have enough speed to double, so he can one-round the Demonic Beasts using his Brave Lance. He quadruples them, and then he would use Death Blow and a Serious Pegasus Company to reach enough attack to kill them in one round. He also has the Cirrus Shield to halve damage coming from monsters, so that he can chip his battalion but not kill it, and for the same reason we have defensive tactics as well. And then finally, Caspar, a guy we've been seeing more and more of in the last 2 chapters, and it's all been building up to this moment where he faces the Death Knight. The story of this chapter is that Mercedes and Caspar run away from the monastery into the spooky forest and come face to face with the Death Knight, and they are on their own. Everyone else is too far away to deal with anything, and we want him to kill the Death Knight and fight another enemy in that area. And for this purpose we have given him a Killer Axe plus a Critical Ring and a Lancebreaker for the Death Knight fight, and we also rigged him to have 32 strength with the Kingdom Wyvern core, so he can smash crit kill the Death Knight. And for that reason he's also received a couple of Rocky Burdocks. Now the rest of his inventory might be a little puzzling, but he has the Sublime Creative Sword and Battalion Wrath, and exactly why he has that, I'll leave that as a surprise. But it goes without saying that he only has E-rank swords, so we could have trained that up a little bit to get better sword prowess, but it's not a huge deal, it just decreases reliability a little bit. And then there's Mercedes. Level 3 Mercedes with the Blood Gang. Yeah, we really didn't do anything with Mercedes other than making sure she could use Physic in the early game, and that's about it, so look forward to what she does. So, the actual chapter. As you can see, we're starting off on turn 1 rather than in the preps menu, because that way we can map out our actions on turn 1 and then Divine Pulse back to the start and retrace our steps, and that way the RNG is the same every time, because this is quite an RNG intensive chapter. We start off with Caspar versus the Death Knight. We have to get a 49% critical hit with the Smash Killer Axe attack, and then cancel him and range the wolf that's on the left. We don't have to kill the Death Knight to beat the chapter. It is route every enemy except for the Death Knight, but we do it so that we get the Scythe of Serial at the end of the chapter by killing him with Caspar. Then we use Retribution with Mercedes and trade the Sublime Creative Sword to the top, so that he will counter the wolf in the top left. The main group, we use Retribution with Leone on our most important fighters, Dimitri, Felix, and Byleth, and then we also rally the ladder with Annette to make her reach that 1-hit KO threshold. This chapter we stride with Bernadetta, which is a bit of an unusual choice because she's a dancer. But in this chapter we don't have much of a need for mobility for like specific units. We just want to spread our units out as far as possible. And this chapter's deployment limit, like for most paralogues, is very strict. And for that reason, we have to put stride on the units that's least important. And in this case, that's Bernadetta. We only need Linhardt's warp to get Byleth in place, and everyone else can get where they need to be with just stride. Dimitri and Byleth are going to take care of the center for the most part. Dimitri fights this first demonic beast. That guy is not weak to axes, so he cannot one-round his first health bar and instead has to chip him down for him to be killed off later, or at least his first health bar. Byleth is going to take care of the left part of the center first, one-rounding the demonic beast with the Brave Axe, and then positioning herself in a way that she can counter the Banshee mages as well as a couple snipers. Felix puts himself in a forest, dismounting to gain some avoid so that the enemies have like single-digit hit on him, and Seth positions himself near the heroes, making use of Swordbreaker and Battalion Wrath to kill them all in one hit without losing too much health. Like I said, he should have been a Wyvern Lord to have additional avoid, and he's actually gonna get hit on enemy phase at least once, but that's kind of what happens when you have these unreliable clears. The reason why Felix is using the Hammer Plus becomes quite clear as he's taking care of all these Fortress Knights. He also faces a couple of Dark Knights over the course of his enemy phase, and against those the Forest is useless for extra avoid because magic doesn't take into account terrain bonuses when calculating accuracy. But nonetheless, he ends up just fine. He does have defensive tactics after all. Byleth cannot afford to get hit by Banshee, as that would reduce her movement to the point where she cannot get where she needs to be on turn 2. So for that reason it's important that she uses the Brave Axe Plus to one-shot them before they attack her. She is using the Brave Axe, but the Brave Axe's effect of attacking twice does not count on any phase, so that's why one-shotting is absolutely necessary. But that's why she has Battalion Vantage. Funnily enough, there was a strat at one point where Byleth was actually using the Devil Axe instead of the Brave Axe here, but it turned out that the way enemies attacked when she was using that was less favorable. And this was discovered by Rengor, who was the initial proponent of the Devil Axe in the first place, so kind of ironic that he ended up being the cause of that being routed out of this chapter. I think Felix, Dimitri, and Byleth really demonstrate how useful Retribution really is in route maps like this, where enemies often have 2 or even 3 range. And thanks to Retribution, they can use their strong 1-range weapons to counter all these enemies without losing any accuracy or anything. I remember playing this chapter in my Byleth solo, for instance, and I was having to use a forged longbow because I didn't have access to something like the Chalice of Beginnings or Retribution. And the accuracy just went down the drain, especially against all these enemies in forests. It was really quite something. So if you still have to play this chapter on Maddening, I definitely recommend Retribution. Sylvain does not have Retribution, so he just has to take the hit from this beast straight up, but that was necessary to get him there. And then Caspar gets a critical hit with the Sublime Creator Sword thanks to Battalion Wrath. In the process, he unfortunately breaks his battalion, but that battalion has done his job in his LTC, so we can just repair it and use it from here without Battalion Wrath, or Battalion Vantage with it, but may it rest in peace. That wolf had a significant crit rate on Caspar, unfortunately, and he was also, of course, getting doubled, so it could have been a death there, and that's just one of the many RNG-reliant things that we have to do in this chapter. But, as I've said before, this chapter is luck-based, but not nearly as luck-based as if we'd done it with less planning than we did. Now, Dimitri ends up pulling over a second demonic beast. This is the guy that he needed the attack power to one-round on enemy phase through his armor, because that one is weak to axes. But now he's in a bit of a pickle because one Dimitri cannot take on 2 demonic beasts at a time. That's why we have Seth and Felix fly over. They're both done with their respective corners. So Seth has the time to use Killer Bow with a curved shot to get a critical hit on the second to last health bar on this first demonic beast. And then Felix can fly over thanks to 3 houses, very generous mounted mechanics, and use the Thunderbrand to quadruple his last health bar, doing 50 times 4 damage, showing that the Crest of Frodarius proc that he got wasn't necessary at all. Now, the wolf that came up to Caspar and nearly one-rounded him has a bit of health and then a full health bar left. We kill his first health bar with Mercedes and the Blood Gang, very cursed kill, and later we'll be able to kill that off with Caspar completely. Byleth could use a Brave Axe Plus to kill the last health bar on this demonic beast, but I don't know whether it's for memes or just to preserve uses, but we end up using the Devil Axe instead to take him down, of course taking advantage of Battalion Desperation to not take a counterattack, but just taking 10 damage for the recoil damage. Thankfully that recoil damage does not go to her battalion, so we don't have to worry about that. And here Caspar has to get another smash critical on the Giant Wolf to finish him off. Now there's one area of the map where we haven't really been with any of our units, and that's the top right. but we don't really have anyone in position to go there because Dimitri still has to kill off another health bar on this demonic beast. But we do still have 2 dancers available. We have the Dance of the Goddess and we have Bernadetta herself. Unfortunately, they are still at the starting points because we haven't been able to get them up here yet. But we do have another Warp on Linhardt that we can use to get Annette into position. This is going to be the most inefficient use of the Dance of the Goddess yet, as it's only going to revitalize 2 people, Byleth and Dimitri. But thanks to that, we will be able to use Dimitri to clear out the bishop that has a battalion on the top right, and we'll be able to use Byleth to take off the last health bar on this demonic beast before he's able to release his AoE on us. And then all we have to do after that is get rid of the last demonic beast at the bottom using Sylvain and Bernadetta in a pretty obvious way. So casualty this chapter is a pretty big pain in the ass compared to what you usually see. All the enemies that refuse to get counterattack because they have 3 range, the extra reinforcements that pop up after a certain turn, or once you cross the cliff, or once Mercedes and Caspar go down here, are super annoying to deal with. And I remember particularly in my Balletto, it was a really huge pain in the ass. So seeing it cleared in this amount of turns is quite phenomenal to me. It was thanks to Velkoma that team ended up figuring out how to do this, thanks to their hard mode clear. Showing once again that LTCing is more of a collaborative effort than a dick measuring contest to see who can clear it the fastest, because even though this map, it took basically 7 minutes to clear, it was only done in 2 turns, and that is quite spectacular. I'm not sure if it's possible to 2-turn this map on other routes, considering this is the only route where you get 2 Retribution Gambits, one of them being the D-rank Kingdom Archers, and the other one being the Index Sword Fighters, that is A-rank. You get that one on pretty much any route, I do believe. But thanks to that, we were able to have Retribution on both Caspar, who is completely isolated from the main team, as well as on the bottom team, where you can see was very important for Dimitri, Byleth, and Felix. As a reward for this paralogue, we of course get the Scythe of Seriel because we killed the Death Knight with Caspar, which is going to increase our reliability since that lance is very accurate and very strong. And then we also get the Raphael gem, which is going to be blocking both effective damage and, more importantly, negating crit rates entirely. Anyway, that's the Caspar Mercedes paralogue completed in 2 turns. I will see you next time.